This is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks, where we review movies. Love them or hate them, someone's got to do it. So enjoy the show. Hi, I'm Sarah, and this is Two Chicks Talkin Flicks and anything else that gets in the mix. And today I am here with Nico from the Silver Screen Dudes. How are you doing?
I am great, Sarah. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. So you have a podcast. Would you like to tell my viewers about it?
Yes, basically, it used to be weekly. Now it's become more of a monthly thing. It's me and my best friend, AJ. We do a movie top 10 show where it's called the Movie Mount Rushmore. We basically get assigned a topic each week by our viewers, listeners, and we have to make our top 10 lists independently from each other. So the other person never knows what the other's picking, right? Which usually leads to some fantastic points of contention. And then we round off our lists, and then from our lists, we have to somehow meet in the middle somewhere and create the Movie Mount Rushmore, which is the 4 quintessential diverse must-see movies of whatever topic we're talking about. As well as that, I also myself put out weekly movie reviews. We have a classic movie podcast where we look at movies that are hitting a decade milestone, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, whatever. A lot of fun, that one. We do that once a month as well. And I also do coverage for BFI, the British Film Institute. So I'm an accredited critic with them.
Wow. Well, my podcast just got a little more fancy.
You're sweet. Thank you.
That sounds really cool. I hate when I'll be looking on Facebook or whatever, and I'll see that like some kind of film thing was here in town, and I'm like, how did I miss this?
Yeah, it always kills me. I get that too.
I hate it. And I've never gone to South by Southwest, and I'm like, I've lived in Texas for 20 years. I now, for 4 years, have done this movie review podcast. How have I never gotten myself to South by Southwest or Cannes Film Festival or any of the other film festivals around here? I don't know. I have.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're blessed on the North American continent to have a load of great Sundance, South by Southwest, Tribeca, hop across the border to Toronto and their international film festival. Like you've got so many great festivals on your doorstep. Yeah. So yes, shame on you, Sarah.
I know, man. Yeah. I am sleeping at the wheel. But well, thank you for being on. Where can people find your podcast if they're interested?
So the best place to find it is probably going to be on YouTube. Just search for The Silver Screen Dudes. We do have an old channel which has not been successful, but it's still up. It's just Silver Screen Dudes. That's not the one. The one which has got sort of 3,000 subscribers, that's not us. The one which has got 50,000, that's the one you're looking for. Wow. Or you can, if you prefer audio only, you can also find us on all popular podcast platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, all of that goodness. Just search for The Silver Screen Dudes.
Yeah, that's where I found you. Or that's where I found your podcast to listen to it.
Awesome. We need to get you onto our podcast next.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I love to do Mount Rushmores. I actually listened to a few episodes, and one of them was a Christmas one. And
not contentious at all. Just quickly, Sarah, Die Hard, Christmas movie or not?
So no. Nope, I don't think it is. But what is really funny is that my friend who thinks it's a Christmas movie said that Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, was not a 4th of July movie. And I go, it's literally in the title. Live Free or Die Hard. Like, it is set at 4th of July. Like, it has 4th of July all over it. That's the whole reason why they are doing it on that day, because it's the 4th of July. I'm like, that is more of a 4th
Same
of July
logic now
movie
with Die Hard. Same logic now with Die Hard. Same logic with Christmas.
So that could be said at any time. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
But it was set at Christmas, and he's traveling to them for Christmas.
I think if it wasn't set in California, it might have been a little bit more Christmassy. It's very.
I mean, there's Christmas trees.
There is Christmas, but it's very few and far between. I just feel like
now I have a machine gun didn't work for you. Eh?
If that one is a Christmas movie, then Live Free and Die Hard is definitely a 4th of July movie. But he told me I was wrong. To that. And I was
I'll concede to that.
I was like, I don't know how I'm wrong. Like, it's literally in the title. So.
Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah. But
fun movie. And speaking of fun movies, we're talking about Gone Girl today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So this was on your list of movies you didn't like. And normally I try to do ones of movies that people do like. And I just ask them for their hate list just to kind of see what is on it. But this one intrigued me because I've wanted to do this movie anyways. I read the book. And so when it was on your hate list, I was like, oh, I've got to know what happened. What's your beef with this movie?
My beef with this movie. Listen, it's the ending where it just falls apart, to be honest. I mean, I think the movie as a whole is fantastic. It's well acted. They got a good performance out of old Shark Eyes Ben Affleck. I thought Rosamund Pike, national treasure here in the UK, absolute revelation as Amy Dunn. I think that's the best I think I've ever seen her, to be honest. David Fincher's direction, stellar. And then that ending happens and I'm like, make it make sense. Just make that make sense to me. I can elaborate if you wish. Like I can go on a long tirade, but obviously I don't want to hog the spotlight here.
Well, I agree-ish. It is a very odd ending that it just kind of like ends. And so you don't know what was true, what was not true, like where their marriage actually is, what's happening.
I don't mean the final frame. I mean the final act. I mean act 3 in total.
Yes, I agree with that as well. But I feel like she lucked into it and she just had to roll with it because there was nothing else. I actually think that Desi might have kept her locked up there. So to get away from him, I think was smart. The way she did it, kind of crazy, but then it does make it look like he set up all of this stuff for her. And so she gets off scot-free a little bit. And then, she's now the loving wife and he looks like a good guy. And now he's kind of stuck with her. So she's just very conniving. And I feel like it does kind of work.
But it's the stuck with her that bothers me. So this is the crux of what I'm getting at. The meticulously constructed deception that happens throughout the whole movie. The ending happens and it's asking us to suspend, like, not just disbelief, but for me, logic itself. For nearly 2 hours, we're watching Amy Dunn execute a masterclass in sociopathic manipulation.
Yeah.
She's staging her disappearance. She's planting evidence. She's orchestrating a trail of crumbs designed to frame her husband, Nick, for her murder. This is all the good stuff. This is the stuff I was like, yeah, okay. Yeah. Reasons to not mess with your wife or your loved one. Now, the entire town, the national media, and even the audience are swept up in the spectacle, right?
Yeah.
We're basically convinced of his guilt. And then she returns, covered in blood, stumbling into the arms of cameras and flashing lights and all the neighbors watching, as a resurrection that should, in any rational narrative universe, immediately exonerate Nick and ignite a tidal wave of scrutiny aimed at Amy. Because in that moment, Nick is innocent. Yeah. Like, all that town, that was whole, he's guilty, he murdered her. Well, you've all seen her show back up. He's clearly not guilty. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But instead of facing legal consequences, or at bare minimum, some public suspicion, Amy is, like, bizarrely welcomed back into her old life with a media bow and a husband seemingly trapped in, like, matrimonial purgatory.
Yeah.
And, this is what kills me. Like, the film insists, without any real justification, And that's the kid sticking point for me. There is no justification of why Nick must stay with her. Not because he's legally obligated. At that point, like, no. And not because he's even emotionally compelled to, but because the plot demands it. It's like, it's a narrative corner that Fincher and Flynn try to paint as some sort of psychologically complex, but to me, it's just implausible. The world has seen the truth, yet the story gaslights us into believing no one else has. It's a chilling finale, yes, but one that trades sense for sensation and coherence for shock.
Well, like, I think it's because we know all the stuff that's behind the scenes, and the cops know all that stuff. But the neighborhood, they don't know all that. They don't know that they found all this TVs and flat screens and golf stuff in the sister's shed, that they were setting him up for her murder. And so they just see this woman covered in blood, obviously has been through something, was taken, and now she's returned into the loving arms of her husband that, you know, has been mourning her this entire time. That maybe they thought he did something, but they weren't quite sure, but clearly he didn't. So he's, you know, she's a hero and he's a victim.
But see, this is again, so if there were certain scenes in the movie that hadn't happened, then what you're saying would make sense. But remember, the media made him public enemy number one, and the whole town went against him.
Yeah.
You know, they were knocking at his door. They were dirty-eyeing him in the street. They were chasing him down the road. Like, people knew, and people said, well, they didn't know, sorry. People suspected that he was the murderer. Yeah. And it was very much a court of public opinion type thing. And it's like, that's fine, because that's the unfortunate world we live in. The court of public opinion sometimes matters more than the court of law. But if we're going down that narrative, then the court of public opinion just had some alarming damn evidence come at it in that he's innocent. It's like, you can't make that stick. If the whole town is chasing him, saying he's guilty, and then she shows up as like, well, clearly he's not guilty anymore.
Yeah. Well,
why does he need to stay with her?
Yeah. Well, because I don't know. I don't know why he stays.
There's no reason. And do you know that the crazy thing is, people say, have you read the book?
That is true, yes. I did read the book, and I can't remember why he stayed.
There's a reasoning in the book. But now here's, and this isn't just for Gone Girl. This is for, like, broadly speaking across everything. One of the areas I hear this most in is Star Wars, when people are trying to defend plot. Well, have you read that comic or read that book? It's like, whoa. The ever convenient fallback. Well, it makes more sense if you read the book.
Yeah.
As if a film, an entirely self-contained visual medium, could come shrink-wrapped with the required reading just to make its climax coherent.
Yeah.
For me, it's like lazy argument when people say, well, read the book, then the movie makes sense. It's like a cinematic cop-out. A great adaptation, again, just speaking personally, this isn't factual, all things being subjective, but a great adaptation should stand on its own legs, not lean on the crutches of source material to patch up narrative fractures. Yes, supplementary mediums can enrich a story, offer texture, backstory, nuance. Books can definitely, other medium can definitely add more onto an already coherent story, but they should never be the scaffolding holding the entire structure upright. Like, if a plot point, particularly one as central and jarring as the ending of Gone Girl, only clicks into place with the help of an unseen chapters from a novel, then the film has failed its most basic responsibility to communicate the story clearly, cohesively, and convincingly to its audience. Like, a film isn't a companion piece. It's the piece. And asking viewers to do homework just to make sense of your third act, that's not clever. That's like, for me, that's like storytelling malpractice.
Well, I kind of think like the way they did it was, at first he stayed with her just because, you know, she just got back home. You know, he wants to look like he didn't do anything. But then when she says she's pregnant, that's why he's staying. And that's what they're showing us that they
100%.
Tell us in the
100%.
book.
That's another, I completely agree with that. That's another, that's one of the more clever counters that I've heard a few people, including yourself, say. But here's the problem. The chronology is very, very important, because when she arrives back, he doesn't know in that moment that she's pregnant. That happens later on in the third act.
Right.
Between her arriving back and her telling him he's pregnant, some time does elapse.
Yeah, it was like 5 weeks.
Why is he staying with her for those 5 weeks?
Well, again,
the moment she arrives, he's like, and he even says when she arrives, "You bitch."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a line in the movie. He knows what she's done, and he should also figure out in that moment, yo, I am innocent and proven so here. See ya.
Well, like, would you leave her?
100%.
I know. No, the smart thing to do is to leave her. And I think most people should. But she's so crazy. And look what she just pulled off. I would be terrified to leave. I'd be like, I should make it look like we're fine. We're cool. But just like him, you go into that other room and you lock that damn door because you don't know what the hell she's going to do.
I mean, I'm going back in the house with her. I am grabbing my passport, my phone, and my wallet, leaving all of my worldly possessions behind because, as you said, she's certifiably nuts.
Yes.
And I'm going to live in off the grid in Indonesia. Find me now.
Yeah, I think it's just because he's like, I read some details about the movie, and they were portraying him as being kind of aloof. Like when he's playing, what is that? Life with his sister at the bar. It said, that he had hit on the marriage, I guess, section of the game. And when you add the bride, you're supposed to get an extra spin because that's your honeymoon. Well, he doesn't know anything about the game of life is what they essentially were saying, that he's very aloof. So I can see why they were like, okay, he's staying with her because he doesn't know what his next move is, which with this girl, she's planned everything to like a precise,
to the finest detail, 100%.
And,
even more reason to not give her 5 weeks than to keep planning.
Yeah, that is true. I would have been, as soon as that media died down, I would have gotten the hell out of there for sure. I would use that lawyer, but like, I need to get the hell out of here. Let's go. Like,
this isn't a hard divorce to settle this one. She's literally framed me and here's the proof. This is an easy one.
Yeah. What was I was going to say something. The one mistake she makes, which I wasn't sure if it was a mistake or not, is when she's playing golf and her fanny pack falls out. And I was like, was that on purpose or was that a mistake? And that seems like a really weird mistake for her to make, to carry that much cash with her around these two people.
Yep.
So it's like...
Agreed. No additional comments from my part. That's one of those eye-raising moments.
Yeah. Because you're like, that seemed really weird, but she does a lot of weird stuff on purpose. But then it really looked like she was scared of them. So I was like, well, why did she carry that much cash on her in front of these two people?
Exactly.
Seems strange.
To be fair, that's a good question. Maybe we need to ask ChatGPT about that one.
Right?
Why does she have money?
Yeah, because I haven't read this book since I read it and finished it before I saw the movie originally in theaters. So it's been a very long time since I've read it. I remember loving the book a lot. And then I was like, oh, I need to go watch the movie. So I can't remember all the nuances and all the different things it may have said why in the book, but I cannot remember.
But again, we come back to my previous point. You should not have to rely on a book to be the scaffolding that holds the story together.
True.
A movie's duty is to stand on its own two shoulders, and the director, the producer, everyone involved, their job is to tell, usually traditionally in a 3-act structure, though rules are not always exclusive, is to tell a coherent story.
Yeah.
And if you fail to do that, objectively speaking, then you are failing your audience and therefore not a good movie, without necessarily going into the main of people's subjective preferences. Like, objectively speaking, the role of a film is to tell a story over the course of a 3-act structure. Mm-hmm. That's a coherent story, or at bare minimum, at least a incoherent story, but that has plenty of artistic merit that leaves things open for interpretation and opens the room, opens the floor for discussion. Yeah. But for me, I think it really, as I've said, that 3rd act fails because it's so reliant on, hey, but have you read the book? That's our get out of jail free card. It's like, no. You don't get to play Monopoly with me. Mm-mm.
Well, I think that's kind of why, like, obviously, yes, I did read the book, but I kind of feel like they left it where you're supposed to imply that he doesn't know what to do. And, you know, then the baby comes along and he explains it to his sister why he can't leave. But if you haven't read the book, then that makes sense. But if you have read the book, then you're like, maybe that's not why. But I honestly, like I said, don't remember.
See, I think the way to have avoided all this from a storytelling perspective is when she arrives back and he sees her, she goes up to hug him in front of the whole town with everyone watching, and then he just whispers to her, "You bitch." The proper comeback there would have been for her to instantly say, "I'm pregnant."
Yeah.
Then that 5 weeks doesn't happen, and we're not left scratching our heads as, well, why did you take her back at all? It's like, no, straight away you're like, oh, she's trapped you here, buddy.
Yeah. Or
because for all intents and purposes, that could be your kid. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but you're not the type of guy, as presented in this movie, who's necessarily going to leave when the woman you used to love has told you she's pregnant, because that could be yours.
Yeah.
That would make sense. But to drag it out the way they did, I was like, no. You can't gaslight me 5 weeks later and say, oh, but she's pregnant now. I'm like, yes, but the 5 weeks that just happened, no.
Yeah. It would have been really interesting when he said, you bitch, if she said, remember, I'm pregnant. Like that, that would have been really good. And
it would have made the story make sense, because it's like, God, she's always a step ahead of him.
Yeah.
It would have been consistent with what they were saying.
Yeah. Now, if your wife went missing, how are you supposed to act? Because I feel like, I don't know if he didn't act the correct way, because you can be acting a lot of different ways. You know, some people hide into themselves. Some people are extra vocal. Some people, you know, smile a lot because they're uncomfortable. And some will cry and get mad. Like it's so weird how we think this person should act when we all act differently in a lot of different situations.
And that part of the movie I thought was pretty damn good. Yeah. Because obviously you're screaming like, oh, dude, don't say that. But you're quite right. We would all say different things. And, you know, that litany of things you've just mentioned of smiling or crying or being too loud or maybe being too quiet or being a bit defensive or standoffish. It doesn't matter what you exhibit. I think kind of the default position of the police, especially in a modern world where there's so many cases of domestic abuse and violence, I think whenever a husband calls and said, my wife's gone missing, put it this way, if I was a policeman, instantly my mind would go there, however correctly or not, there'd be that in the back of my mind, like, oh, crap, is this another domestic abuse case?
Yeah. Well, you know, I listened to a lot of Dateline, a lot of those murder whodunit things. And I find a lot of times when the husbands don't call the cops until they've been missing for a few days,
that
typically is when they have actually done something. It's the ones that like are quick with it. They're like, hey, I came home. My wife hasn't been responding. No one picked up our kids. Like that guy probably didn't do it. Now there are some that have, so it sucks. But like the ones that don't go and help find the person, they're not there at the gathering when everybody comes to help. Like those are the ones you're like, okay, this guy probably did it. Because they tend to do that because they know their wife isn't going to be there because they know where she is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, he was there. Yeah, he didn't call her parents yet because he didn't know anything. He literally called the cops. You guys came, you took him. When was he supposed to have time to call them? Like, I guess he could have called them immediately, but when you see that there's like furniture turned over, that's not the time to be like, hey, have you seen her? Is she at your house? Clearly she's not. She's been taken.
Yeah. And I thought that, and that's why I said at the top of this, I'm like, the first 2 acts of this movie, I was in. I thought it was great. And for all the reasons you just said, you know, it's, you find yourself almost yelling at the screen when he's giving his statements and stuff. So, oh, dude, not like that, not like that, not like that. You are literally making yourself look guilty here.
Right. And it just, husbands.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And that in itself is why I found this movie so frustrating, because the type of frustrating we're talking about now, that's good frustrating, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're kind of in usual suspects territory here where you find yourself almost so invested that you're screaming at the screen. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's emotive art telling. Then the third act happens.
So do you have any favorite parts of this film that, like, you know, stick out to you?
I thought her whole framing of Neil Patrick Harris, I thought that was pretty fantastic. I'd say that was my standout part. The way she positions herself tactically in front of the CCTV, that I was like, yeah, there's really not getting one over on you, is there?
She's so good.
I also thought the way they showed how their relationship gradually fell apart and how she started to genuinely fear him, if you can believe the unreliable narrator, that is. True. I thought that was pretty well done as well. You know, showing how they used to make love and then that love turned into, we don't make love anymore, we just have sex.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, yeah, well done. Okay. And believable.
Yeah. And that's why, you know, I actually had this, you know, again, I read the book. I can't remember anything from it. But when we were watching it and at the end, after she, you know, they're talking about her being pregnant for real, and he like smashes her against the wall.
Right.
I go, that looked too easy. That looked like something he has done before. So then I was like, wait, has he done this to her before? Because that seemed like a reaction that you wouldn't have had just once. So then I thought, well, maybe, but she's also a psychopath and he doesn't know what he's dealing with. So maybe that was the first time. And the way that she wasn't even shocked that it happened, and she was more like, okay, I'm going to go get ready now. It's like she likes that. She likes him being mad. She likes him having anger towards her because at least it's an emotion. And he's not just like withdrawn and having sex with her. He's, you know, angry and mad. So then I was like, crap.
There's some passion there.
Yeah, I can't tell which way it is because it's open for interpretation. Like I would love to have his journal, like a version of this from his point of view.
Oh, definitely. Gone Girl, the sequel.
Yeah.
Stay Boy. Do you know what? This is why these podcasts and these types of conversations are so great, because I've never heard that take before, and I love it. It's not how I interpreted the scene at all, but that doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. I think that's a great take. And it's got me thinking, actually. I like that a lot. Well, I mean, my take of it was that was just his tipping point.
Yeah.
It's like she pushed him too far. he's staying there knowing that that's his kid. And even in that moment, or thinks it's his kid, and even in that moment, he doesn't care. He's getting physical with her when you obviously shouldn't do that with a woman or a person for that matter, period. Least of all if the person's pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was just his tipping point. And I think her calmness afterwards, for me, was that, okay, as a line here that I have now finally crossed, I am going to calmly go about my day and we're going to pretend that didn't happen and I'm going to go and compose myself. But I love your take on that.
Yeah, because I almost felt like she was smiling after it happened.
Yeah, almost.
And it's just like, well, I mean, she did murder a man who was inside of her. So, you know, she's crazy. She's
nuts. She's the type of woman that every man fears having. It's real talk.
And now she can never die. Like she can never die in some weird way because he's always gonna look super guilty.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna have to just die in like a car crash or something that he had nothing to do with. Because
alternative take, he could actually now kill her and he could then be like, wait, we're doing this again? Seriously, how many times do I need to be proven innocent? Have you not seen Bitch is Crazy? Like,
yeah, that's true because they were on his side. But does he have the finesse to pull it off?
No, I don't think he does. Not that character. No. Much too heavy-handed.
That would, a Gone Girl 2 with him getting his revenge. That would be equally as sweet.
And the opening needs to be an explainer for that third act. Please. For me, like, in the end, Gone Girl, it asks us to buy into an ending that just crumbles under scrutiny, then deflects that scrutiny with the hollow excuse that the book fills in the blanks. Yeah. But, yeah, like, cinema isn't a scavenger hunt. It's a standalone experience. If a film's climax hinges on information the movie never gives, then no amount of literary footnotes can save it. A thriller this stylish, and it is stylish, and sharp, and it is sharp, deserves a conclusion that plays fair with its audience, not one that hides behind pages it never shows.
Yeah. Like,
hence my hatred for it. Because I'm like, you are betraying. The literal slogan of my podcast and of my YouTube channel is long love cinema. This, for me, feels like a betrayal of cinema. Why are you telling me to read a book because your ending doesn't make sense? That's on you.
Yeah. One thing that I don't think makes sense in this is her buying all that stuff in his name and having it in the shed. Because if you're going to go and blow all your money on buying all this stuff, wouldn't you be using it? Like, wouldn't he have it at his dad's house where he could actually, like, use it? So it doesn't make sense as to why she thought this would be a smoking gun. It's not like he just went and bought it days before she died. Like, she'd been buying this stuff for a while.
Stockpiling it.
It's like, what would he be saving it for? That just seems weird.
Yeah, I don't remember that part of the movie well enough to answer that. But from what you've said, yeah, that doesn't add up at all.
No. It's very strange.
Hmm.
Like, okay, he doesn't golf, but he bought golf clubs and, like, a golf glove. But they're just sitting there. Like,
golf club, murder weapon, looks sus.
Maybe. It's just so weird. And, like, at first, the person I feel the most sorry for is Desi, because he seemed like a nice guy. He goes and picks her up. But, like, while she's in his care, he just talks about how she doesn't look like herself. She, has gained some weight and her clothes are gross and she needs to look better. And, like, she's literally eating something and he takes the bowl away from her. And I was like, this guy is possessive and he might kill her. I don't.
Yeah, literally.
But, like, he also loves her a lot. So I was just like, I don't Is she just a trophy for him?
I think she became a trophy, but I think it definitely started with love, you know?
Yeah. Like, what do you think that relationship was like? Because let's just say she stayed with him for a while. What happens to her there?
Well, after she comes back.
Yeah. Like, you know, he goes and he picks her up. Like, if she never killed him, what do you think would happen?
Oh, I think you have a very kind of mistress-sub relationship going on there, to be honest. Like, she clearly gets off on power, doesn't she? That's her driving force. It's power and manipulation. So if she can find a man who's so affectionate with her that he'd be subservient to her power, I think in a weird, messed up way, it might actually work.
Yeah, because I think like he would do anything for her, but he also looked like he might keep her locked up in that house, you know? Like, I don't know. I
never got the vibe that he'd lock her in the house, you know?
Really?
I never got that vibe. Yeah, I never got that vibe. I know he was meant to be portrayed that way. And I don't get me wrong, I completely get why you would interpret it that way. I'm not saying the interpretation's wrong. It's just not what I did.
Because he's like, here, wear these clothes. Here, let's do this. We're going to fix your hair because it doesn't look good. And then he's like, oh, and see this? Every square inch of this place is under constant surveillance. So I'll know what happens. Like, that's creepy.
Yeah, I mean, but it's difficult to say because all of the characters in this movie in some way are kind of creepy. They're kind of creepy archetypes. Yeah. So, I don't know, it fits with the world, so I didn't give it that much more thought. But when you actually are breaking it down the way you are, yeah, makes you wonder maybe he would have just axe murdered her.
Yeah.
And erased the evidence. Who knows?
If she ever tried to leave, like I think he might try to harm her, you know, because he was her stalker. But that's also coming from her, so maybe he wasn't. But it sort of sounded like he was kind of her stalker.
Again, it comes down to the unreliable narrator. Do you believe her? Do you not?
You know, and obviously, even while reading it, I was like, I don't like her. So.
No, she's not a likable character.
No,
she's a really unlikable character. And my question, guys, do you understand why I dislike this movie as strongly as I do, based on the breakdown I've given you?
Yes, I do.
That's good. Mission accomplished.
Because you know it's not as tasty when you only have 2 courses of your 3-course meal. And
exactly. Where's my dessert?
Yeah, you're still hungry.
Mm-hmm.
You want that cheesecake and you didn't get it.
I want that white chocolate and salted caramel and Biscoff-based cheesecake. Absolutely, I want that.
But, you know, if you just go and read the menu, maybe you might find the answers.
Well played. Go and read some extra material. I like that. Well played.
So, obviously, the ending you hate. But is there anything else in the film that, like, sticks out to you that you were affected by or really enjoyed?
Oh, I mean, listen, the impending sense of dread in the movie is absolutely stellar. That's what kept me hooked. And as I said, you know, sitting up, almost screaming at the screen, because you're judging. You've highlighted this already over the course of this podcast. You're invested so heavily in who's telling the truth, who's not, what can you believe, what can't you. It's got that signature Fincher styling to it where everything's a bit dark. It's kind of the worst of humanity. There's not really any good people living in this world. So you're kind of just stuck with bad and worse. And you're trying to find a sense of happiness or a sense of happiness or a ray of sunshine somewhere amongst all the dark clouds. To that end, the movie's freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, it's dark. It's dark in a way that only Fincher does.
I do like that. One thing that bothers me is that her journal gets burnt, but it's not burnt enough. It's burnt to be still legible. And I'm like, what guy would just let it just get a little singed and not check on it? Like, wouldn't you look and be like, okay, it's completely destroyed?
Yeah.
Annoying.
Yes, one of the frustrations, and that was intentional. The movie is there to trigger you. This movie should literally come with a trigger warning on the Blu-ray box.
Yeah. And why was his girl or mistress, why was she with the parents? Like, that seems like a weird combination. Like, would she just go to them and be like, hey, I'm sorry, I was sleeping with your son-in-law?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The oddly jarring detail of Nick's mistress, Andy, right?
Yeah.
Sitting with his parents during the press conference. It's one of those moments in Gone Girl, it feels more symbolic than plausible. Mm-hmm. And yet the film, he never really explains it, which leaves viewers understandably puzzled. I guess from a narrative perspective, it's likely intended to show just how far the chaos has spiraled, that Nick's affair is no longer a secret and the people around him have had to accept it as part of the circus. Might also be an attempt to show how enmeshed Andy is in Nick's life to the point of having the emotional support or at least tolerance of his family. I don't know. Maybe realistically it makes little to no sense. Like, Nick's parents have just learned that their son cheated on his wife, who is still missing, and allegedly murdered by him. And here they are flanking the very girl he cheated with like she's part of the support team. It's odd. It's a visual cue that adds to the surreal media-fueled madness of the story. Again, unreliable narrator.
I guess it could be because she thinks that he's guilty. And, saying like, hey, he obviously killed his wife because I'm his mistress. So he didn't really love her. He loved me.
Yeah. I think, as I said, symbolically, I think it works. But it's yet another example of how the film, in its like pursuit of thematic weight and psychological complexity, occasionally sacrifices plain old believability.
One thing I thought was kind of funny is that in the film, when he goes to the airport, they wanted him to wear a Yankees cap. And as a diehard Boston Red Sox fan, he refused to wear the Yankees cap. And so him and the director settled on a Mets cap. And it took 4 days for them to agree to that. Now, I'm not an actor, but I do understand the Yankees hate. And, but if it was between me and having to wear that stupid hat or, getting my paycheck, I probably would I would wear the stupid hat. But this is what happens when you get to a certain level of celebrity status, isn't it? Like, true. I've done a bit of acting. I've been in a few movies. The next one's actually got a world premiere in October. It's called Jackie the Stripper. Be on the lookout for it. It's very cool. But look, I'm soccer, football. I'm a diehard soccer fan, and Chelsea Football Club is my team. I despise Arsenal with every fiber of my being. At the level I'm at as an actor, which is not high at all. If a director said to me, "You're playing an Arsenal fan," I'd be like, "Hey man, as long as that check clears by the end of the month, we good. I don't care. It's called acting. It's not real." Exactly. But I guess, Affleck is so synonymous. Him and Matt Damon are just so synonymous with Boston, aren't they? Yeah. So I think there's a certain cultural zeitgeist thing going on where it's like, oh damn, like no, I think the world would implode if Ben Affleck wore something from the Yankees. True, that would be everywhere. But my point is that he's from Missouri. Why is he wearing a Royals or a St. Louis Cardinals hat? Because he wears a shirt at some point. So why wouldn't you just get him that? Like, that just seems weird to be wearing a Mets hat.
Yeah. I've got to claim transatlantic ignorance here. I do not know enough about the various American sports teams. I know that the hate between the Red Sox and the Yankees runs deep, though.
Well, I can tell you this. They live in Missouri. In the film, they moved to his hometown, and St. Louis is where Desi is. And that's also in Missouri. And Missouri has a baseball team called the Cardinals. And where he is, I'm guessing it's 2 hours away. So it's more probably closer to like Warrensburg, which is where the Royals play. So,
right.
And there's a huge hatred between both of those teams. So I could see him wearing like a Cardinals hat because he was wearing a Cardinals shirt at some point. So I don't know why he wouldn't just worn that. That would have made more sense. And you wouldn't have to stop production for 4 days while you guys fight about it.
It's such a diva thing to do. I'm sorry. I will stop production over the count of my sports affiliation. Like, mate.
I hate the Houston Astros, so I get it. I wouldn't wear that either, and I would be really mad about it. And I'd be like, no, I'm not wearing that. Just get me a plain hat. And they said, no, you have to wear it because it's integral. I'd be like, where? Why? We're in Missouri.
Yeah.
Why is it important for me to wear a Yankees hat? I understand. I would get it. And I probably wouldn't.
I think the director was maybe trolling him a bit as well. Like, how far can I get this guy to jump for me? Because it is David Fincher after all.
They did play jokes on each other, so it makes sense.
Oh, you want me to wear a Yankees cap? Cool. I'm going to stop production for 4 days.
Yep. He's a director. He gets it.
That's it. That's it.
Do we think her parents really did need money? And do we think she really gave it to him?
Let me ponder on that one. Did she give her parents?
Because she didn't really care for those books, I feel. I don't think she really enjoyed it. So having to give her parents money from a trust that was because of her that they even had money seems like something she wouldn't do.
So here's the thing, right? I think... Did Amy give her parents money? I think it's a sort of, but like many things in Gone Girl, it's layered in manipulation.
Oh, could
so
be.
Amy's parents have essentially built their wealth and public image on the back of her childhood, turning her into the protagonist of their wildly successful Amazing Amy series, right?
Yeah.
But it's strongly implied that Amy used her trust fund established from the proceeds of those books to help them financially when they hit hard times.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the many resentments Amy harbors is that she bailed them out when their finances crumbled and they were never truly grateful, right?
Yeah.
So this financial support is part of Amy's psychological arsenal. She views herself as the savior and martyr in everyone's life, including her parents, despite also feeling exploited by them.
Yeah.
It's not a major plot point in the film, but it's there in the subtext. It's another thread in Amy's complex web of control, pride, and like quiet vengeance. So I'd say yes, she gave them money, but not without expecting unspoken loyalty and acknowledgement in return.
Yeah. And if the books are that successful, like, I wonder why they needed to bail out anyways.
Oh, because there's nothing worse than people who are not from money, getting money and then spending that money too quickly. There's so again, I reference football again, sorry, soccer. There's so many instances of like the soccer players here in the UK who are, by their own admission, sort of raised in council estates and kind of come from the streets and stuff. And the reason they're so good at football is because that's what they've dedicated their whole childhood to doing, right? Then they, so they don't usually come from wealth. In fact, very rarely do they come from wealth. And so they come into all this wealth and, by the time their careers end, they've gambled it away on horses or like gone to too lavish nightclubs or bought too many cars instead of actually investing it. I think you come into money quickly. That's made off the back, especially in this context where it's made off the back of someone else's kind of success based on someone else's story, really. Yeah, I'd believe that they'd go bankrupt pretty quickly. Snorting it, pissing it away, splurging it unnecessarily. Pick your poison.
I would just kind of think that they would just write another book.
Logic should dictate that, yes, because we have already established, Sarah, Gone Girl is not a franchise film which prides itself on believability.
Yeah, like I would just think the parents would be like, "Oh, we're running out of money. Let's do a new book series of The Amazing Amy."
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
like The Amazing
That's
Amy
been pretty
has
successful, right?
Excellent Aaron, just
Excellent Aaron. Fantastic Fabio.
yeah, Plain Jane,
Oh, I like that. Trademark that. Plain Jane.
Like, it just seems weird that they would just be like, well, we don't have money, so give us some of your money that we essentially stole from you.
Exactly.
We took your childhood, we made it better, we made money off of it, and we gave you some money, but we're going to take it back now. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, all of these things definitely fuel her, don't they? I mean, it's not hard to see why she became how she is with all of these things going on in her life.
I just want to know, like, why doesn't she work? Because she seems very smart. She did get let go, but, like, you couldn't find another job. You couldn't start your own business. Like, she seems like a lady who would start a business, like maybe making candles. I don't know. Like, she just doesn't seem like a person who'd just sit around the house doing nothing. God, she seems like a linen candle person. No?
I love that. Make candles. She did work as like a quiz writer for a magazine, and it was based in New York. I think in the book it specifically mentioned she worked for a magazine like Cosmo or Elle.
Yeah, I don't know. She could have worked for BuzzFeed, making up new quizzes.
But when her and Nick moved to Missouri after they both lose their jobs due to the recession, and Amy becomes unemployed, her identity crisis, that loss of control and feeling like she's been downgraded to a supporting role in Nick's Midwestern failure, it kind of all helps fuel her psychotic break and elaborate revenge plot.
I guess so. I mean,
she may not have a job during the events of the film. She absolutely had a resume. And a dangerous skill set to boot, I guess.
Yeah, like you have so many degrees. Like you could do something with that in Missouri. I'm sorry, it's not the East Coast, but it's still a state.
Proud
like
Texan, I love that. There was such resentment in your voice there. Spoke the proud Texan. It's not the East Coast.
Well, I'm from the Midwest. I grew up in Nebraska, so. I was there for one state over for many, many, many years. And the fact that people think that there's nothing to do in the middle of the United States, it's just stupid. Just stupid. There's just as much stuff to do there as there is anywhere else. And it's not as expensive.
That's true. Listen, I used to live in London. I left London for that exact reason.
Because it's expensive and stupidly so, right?
Stupidly so.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can go to pubs and different places.
Oh, God, yeah.
In your town now?
Absolutely. The only thing I'm wanting for in my town now is good sushi.
Oh.
London has got some exceptionally good sushi places. We do not have that where I am now.
That stinks.
Otherwise, life's good. You know what's not good?
What?
Gone Girl.
Well, that's not true. Part of it's good. You just don't like the whole...
2 acts are good, and then it crumbles under its own ambition.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. So what is a perfect movie to you, then, if this is not a perfect movie? Jaws.
Jaws is literally a perfect movie, but I don't think it's a perfect movie by design. I think it's a perfect movie by circumstance. I think if the shark had worked for most of the movie wouldn't have been very good because that shark didn't look very good, right? But because the shark kept on breaking down, and we only see it for a few very brief moments at the end. People forget this. The shark's hardly in the damn movie.
Yeah.
you see fins, you see a few people being dragged under. There's that one quite horrific scene where the shark comes up and bites that guy in the canoe about halfway through.
Yeah.
But for most part, the movie's three men in a boat talking.
Yeah, because it's like, what's scarier? Something that you can see or something you can't see?
Something you can't see, an E flat and G minor. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. That's scary. And again, that wasn't planned. That was all lucky circumstance. And yeah, I think they got lightning in a bottle with that movie. I find it very hard to find fault in Jaws. And I'm one of those odd critics who never wants to go out to like hurt a movie. Like I really, really am reluctant to trash a movie.
Uh-huh.
Because I know so many critics like, well, the movie fails in this regard. It's like, oh, shut up, have a cookie, smile, and enjoy the film. I see people judging that new Jurassic World trailer before the movie's even hit. I'm like, can you give it a chance? How did you become so miserable that dinosaurs are jading you?
Yeah.
Seriously, like the first of the new Jurassic World movies is literally openly criticizing people like you. It's like people find dinosaurs boring. What is wrong with you? How can you find a movie about dinosaurs boring, especially when you haven't even seen it yet? Like, can you let the wine breathe a moment, please? Now, granted, it may not be very good, but I'm not about to go and hate it before I've even seen it. So yeah, the same way I'm not out, long love cinema, as I said, is the slogan of my channel. But while I'm not out to trash cinema ever, unless it's really deserving of it, Act 3 of Gone Girl, I'm also very reluctant to give 10 out of 10 to films. Like I think I can count on one hand films I've given 10 out of 10 to.
Wow.
But Jaws is one of them. Jaws is absolutely one of them.
You'd be really disappointed listening to some of our ratings.
Oh, really?
I know trash movies we've given 10 out of 10 to.
But you see, what I find funny with the trash films is let's find something redeemable in it. Kind of like you're doing with me now. It's like, I know you hate Gone Girl, but tell me something you like about it, right? Yeah. Which is good. It's therapeutic. It's really, really good for the soul to just be like, I hate this, but here's a redeeming thing.
Well, there is a thing. So, like, there's some movies that you watch just for entertainment value.
100%.
Jurassic Park is one of those. It's just entertainment.
100%. Of course it is. It's fantastic.
And then there's movies like Interception where they want you to think. And then you just sit there and you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? And you're like, I don't even know. And,
also, you just made a very interesting love child movie there, Interception. That was like Interstellar and Inception made a baby there.
I did say it wrong, and I thought I did.
I love that.
But I just kept going.
Both of those movies are great, so the love child would be even better.
You know what? I think I thought about both of those movies after I was done and was like,
there you go.
What the fuck did I just watch?
There you go.
Yeah, so
all-time
you
great.
get it.
Yeah.
And
of course, not every movie has to make you think, but that's again when we talk about the subjectivity of what people like and don't like, right? So if a movie's clearly just out there to entertain, hell, Avengers Endgame is the second highest grossing film in cinema history.
Yeah.
It's a, perfectly well-made movie, but I can, if I wanted to, put my analytical and critical hat on and pull it apart, I don't think people would find it very hard to pull Avengers Endgame apart.
Yeah. You just had to know
why
science.
Would you? But why would you? It's fun.
It is fun.
Enjoy the ride. Don't be like, well, actually, time travel. Oh, shut up. Just enjoy it.
It's linear, Just
go. Yeah. Not every movie, I'll quote my mate here, not every movie needs to be Schindler's List.
Exactly.
And very few movies should end like Gone Girl. I will not let it go.
Man, I thought I did a good job of pitting my points, but I guess not.
No, you have. This has been really fun. It's been really fun. You've done a great job of getting me to actually open up about Gone Girl and forcibly talk about things I like about it. And as I said, some of your takes have been really, really interesting. So no, this has been fun. Don't be silly. I'd love to do it again.
Well, good. Okay, so we rate the movies. I know you're not going to give it a 10 out of 10, but this is how we rate it. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 fanny packs. So what out of the movie would you rate it?
I'm not that far from you. 6.5 out of 10. All
right. Well, that's good. That's not bad. For it being on your hate list, that's a pretty high mark.
It's on my hate list because of that damn ending. Like, it triggered. I remember it was one of those moments in time where I was so triggered by the lack of logic. Like, I've got a very granular brain. Like, I've got to, in one sense, it's a hated movie because the lack of logic in that third act triggers me so badly. Yeah. But I'm also capable of saying, okay, well, let's be aware of this hatred and validate it, but let's put it aside for a moment. And just as you've done today, it's like, but are there some other good things in here? Is it well made? Yes. Is it well acted? Yes. Does it have a good pacing to it? Yes. Is it well shot? Is the tone good? Is the dialogue exchange good? Are the character arcs believable? Yes, 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 yes. So it's clearly not a bad film. I just hate it. I hate a bad film. I hate a good film. There you go.
That's okay. I don't like The Princess Bride. And I know.
You shut your face. How dare you say this?
I will tell you why. I did not see it as a child. And I think that's important to have that nostalgia for it while seen as a kid. I saw it when I was already in high school. And I think I just missed the boat. And
see, that's fair. Yeah, that is fair enough.
I like, there's parts that are funny. There's parts that are good. I just overall not a huge fan of it. But I also thought that way about Goonies. And I recently saw it on the big screen. And that changed my whole perception of Goonies. So.
Yeah, okay, moment of truth since we're talking about Goonies, which, by the way, in the month of June turns 40 years old this month. Yeah, there you go. Tune into the Throwback Thursday Classic Movie Review podcast on the Silver Screen podcast feed. But yeah, I do not like Goonies. And I know I'm on a very, very small island of people who think that, but I think exactly like with your Princess Bride stance, I watched it too late.
Yeah. Now, okay, did you watch it in theaters?
No.
Okay, I think that's the key because I've seen it plenty of times, probably I'd say 20, 30 times at home. I've never liked it. I'm not a fan of it. It is one of my sister's favorite movies. So anytime it's on TV, she has it on and she's watching it. I've seen it plenty of times. But a few months ago, they had this thing where you could go to the theater and get like, bring any size bucket that you want and they would fill it with popcorn for $5. So people were bringing like weird bags, like all sorts of stuff. And I only went for the popcorn because I was like, whatever. I'll see this movie again. I don't care. I'm going to get a giant thing of popcorn for $5. It made a world of difference. I was so into
the big screen or the large popcorn?
Yeah, the big screen. I was so into this movie. Like, I was laughing. I was crying. Like, I was so enthralled in this movie. And, like, when they, are on that ship and you, like, see it for the first time, like, you get the reaction. I was like, oh, my God. Like, this is how you're supposed to see this movie. On a big screen.
But that's what cinema is all about. See, that's awesome what you've just said. The fact that you can watch a movie and it can move you like that. That's awesome. Long love cinema.
Sometimes it's some movies are meant to see in theater, and that is one of them. For sure.
Well, if they do an anniversary release here in the UK, I will take your word on that, Sarah, and go and watch it.
You should, yeah. This
has been fun, mate. Thank you.
You're welcome. I saw you guys recently reviewed Thunderbolts.
Oh, yes.
I just saw that myself not too long ago, like last week.
Oh, it's such fun.
It was fun. Now, see, It didn't make sense, but it was fun.
It was fun. It was the type of return I needed from Marvel. It was great.
Yes. I love when Marvel is funny and they introduce good characters. And I really enjoyed it.
I didn't realize I needed Soviet dad energy in my life. So I did.
Right? He was so good.
So full, so filled. It's good. It was great.
Well, where can my people find you if they want to listen to your podcast? So we'll just remind them again.
YouTube.com, The Silver Screen Dudes, or any podcast platform. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Just search for The Silver Screen Dudes. Our podcasts go live every single month. We have 2 different podcasts: the classic movie review show, where we review movies that are celebrating a decade milestone, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old. And also our movie Mount Rushmore podcast, which Sarah is going to be a guest on at some point in the near future. YouTube we do things like we have interviews of noted directors and actors. We have reviews that go out every single week. Lots of fun stuff on there.
Well, guys, check it out. And thank you so much for being on.
It has been my pleasure. I hope it's the first of many.
Yes. All right, guys. Until next time, have a great night and toodles. This episode was produced by Two Chicks Talkin Flicks. Music was produced by Michael Giovanni. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. If you'd like to be a part of the show, have a movie suggestion, or just want to give us some love, you can email us at twochickstalkinflicks@gmail.com. Thanks, guys. Toodles.